Hey there, Supes fans. Welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the world of our favorite antiheroes. Today, we're focusing on one of the most fascinating and fierce characters from The Boys, the one and only Kimiko. Or should I say, the female. That's right, we're talking about the biggest changes between Kimiko and the TV series and her comic book counterpart, The Female. So buckle up, because this ride's going to be wild. Kimiko name. First up, let's talk names. In the show, we know her as Kimiko Miyashiro. This name gives her a personal identity, something to hold on to amidst all the chaos. But in the comics, she's simply known as the Female. Mysterious, right? While the nameless approach adds an air of enigma, the show's choice to reveal her name helps flesh out her backstory and makes her more relatable. Remember when we first met Kimiko in that cage? It was chilling, and keeping her nameless at first added to that mystery. But as the show progressed, learning her name and her tragic backstory made her more human, more real. What do you guys think? Do you prefer the mysterious vibe, or do you like knowing her as Kimiko? Let me know in the comments. Origin of powers. Now, let's get into how she got her powers. On the TV show, Kimiko gains her incredible strength and healing abilities after being experimented on with Compound V. It's a grim, horrifying ordeal that adds to the darkness of her character. But in the comics, it's a twist of fate. Her mother worked at a Vought lab and brought baby Kimiko along because she couldn't find a babysitter. Little Kimiko accidentally ingests Compound V, and boom, superpowers. Can you imagine? A baby wandering off and ingesting this powerful compound by accident. It's a crazy difference that shows how unpredictable life in the Boys universe can be. Family ties. Family is another big change. The show gave us an emotional storyline with Kimiko and her brother, which was heartbreaking and added so much depth to her character. In the comics, she's an only child, and her family isn't a focus. This addition in the show really amps up the emotional stakes and makes her fight against the corrupt superheroes even more personal. Watching Kimiko and her brother reconnect, only to have that bond brutally severed by Stormfront, was gut-wrenching. This storyline gave Kimiko a powerful motivation and added layers to her character that we didn't get in the comics. How did you guys feel about this change? Was it a good addition? Hit that subscribe button if you're loving these deep dives into character backstories. Kimiko's life in captivity. Kimiko's backstory in the show is intense. We learn about her and her brother being held as prisoners by a terrorist organization, which is entirely absent from the comics. In the comics, the Female was a captive for much of her life after being exposed to Compound V. She was taken from her mother, experimented on, and occasionally escaped, leaving a trail of bodies behind. This background adds to her ferocity and resilience. The show's portrayal of her captivity and escape, especially her relationship with her brother, adds a whole new layer to her character. It makes her more sympathetic and shows the harsh realities of her life that shaped her into the lethal weapon she is today. Joining the Boys. As part of the changes made to the story in the TV show, how Kimiko met the Boys was completely altered. In the comics, the Female is already a former member of the Boys when the comic starts. Frenchie, Mother's Milk, and the Female were all former members that Butcher brings back together for his new mission. The TV show handles this a bit differently. Instead of Kimiko already being a member of the Boys, the show introduces her gradually, and we get to see her origin and how she ends up joining the Boys. It's a major change that allows viewers to see how her relationship with each of the Boys grows throughout the story. It also adds to the team dynamic, making us feel more connected to her journey. Kimiko can speak. Communication is key, right? In the show, it is believed that Kimiko is unable to speak, as she communicates with her brother using sign language. This leads to a sweet storyline in which she teaches Frenchie the special sign language so they can communicate together. In the comics, the Female's silent persona is a bit more confusing. It is suggested that she does not have a tongue and is therefore unable to speak, or that she was taken captive at such a young age that no one taught her to speak. But she does indeed speak once in the series, saying, "I hate mean people." This mystery adds to her enigma, but the show's version gives us a more poignant and touching relationship dynamic. Kimiko's temperament. Kimiko is probably the most intimidating member of the boys, with even Butcher wary of her at times. Anybody who makes her mad is in for a lot of pain and trouble. In the comics, staying on her good side is even harder. A running gag in the comics is that the female does not like to be touched. She unleashes terrifying and gruesome anger on anyone who makes that mistake. But she makes one exception for her best friend, Frenchie. This shows her deep bond with him and adds a layer of humanity to her otherwise terrifying persona. Confrontations with Supes. There are tons of Supes in the boys' universe, and one of the surprisingly dangerous Supes is Tech Knight, at least in the TV show. In the show, Tech Knight is a brilliant detective, with his skills enhanced by his superpower of deduction. He was a minor antagonist in Gen V, and he had a major confrontation with the female in the comics. In the comics, Tech Knight wasn't nearly as dangerous, and was quickly and easily overpowered by the female. Even with his Iron Man-esque armor, the female easily tore through his armor with no problem. As of Season 4, Kimiko and Tech Knight have yet to meet, but it would be interesting to see how that fight would play out on screen. Kimiko's need to kill. Though she is silent, it is hinted that the female lives with some form of PTSD from her traumatic past. As a result, the only way she is able to deal with it is through killing. Even the action she gets as a member of the boys is not enough, so she works as a contract assassin on the side. While this bloodlust adds to her intimidating nature, she is also shown to have a softer side. When following one target, Kimiko decides not to kill him when she sees him with his wife and children. This moment of restraint shows that beneath all that rage, there is still a human being struggling with her demons. Taking on G-Wiz. The show has introduced a large number of interesting Supes, but it has only scratched the surface of all the ones the comics have introduced. The group also features a young frat boy group called G-Wiz, whom Huey infiltrates as a spy. When Huey is found out by the heroes, they plan to kill him only for the female to show up. She then brutally kills the entire group, cementing herself as the deadliest member of the boys. Kimiko's powers. One of the bigger changes to the boys' lore was Soldier Boy. In the comics, Soldier Boy was an incompetent hero who caused the destruction of a U.S. military base during World War II due to not understanding basic military practices. He was killed in this encounter, and was an example of why Supes shouldn't be in the military. The TV show changed this and made Soldier Boy far more dangerous. Instead of an incompetent hero, Soldier Boy had the incredibly dangerous power of being able to remove the power of Supes, which he used on Kimiko. While Kimiko eventually gained her powers back, her comic version never lost them to begin with. This change added a new layer of vulnerability and struggle for her character in the show. Showdowns with Black Noir and Stormfront. The female fought a lot of different Supes in the comic, from slaughtering G-Wiz to fighting Stormfront to a standstill. However, one of the few characters the female never went up against was Black Noir, and for good reason. The comic version of Black Noir is far stronger than the TV show one, and she likely would have gotten decimated. On the TV show, Kimiko and Black Noir were much more evenly matched, and Black Noir was actually one of the first Supes that Kimiko went up against. While she did lose the fight, she managed to survive and was integral in helping Frenchie escape. Her battles with Stormfront were also intense and showcased her determination and strength in the face of overwhelming odds. Kimiko's relationship with Frenchie. The relationship between Kimiko and Frenchie is a big part of both of their developments in the show. The bond between these two is also very strong in the comics, showing them as closer than any of the other members of the team. But it is also quite different. In the show, Frenchie seems to see Kimiko as a romantic partner, even trying to kiss her at one point. However, in the comics, it is much more of a family bond, with Frenchie almost looking at the female as his child whom he helps teach. This dynamic adds depth to their relationship and shows how they rely on each other in their dangerous line of work. Kimiko's fate. While Butcher is not exactly heroic in the show, he is shown to be much worse in the comics. Though he makes for a strong and courageous leader for most of the series, he turns down a darker path at the end with his plan to kill all Supes. When the other members of the team learn about Butcher's plan, they feel he has gone too far. But before they can act, Butcher makes plans to get rid of them. While Frenchie and the female are at their headquarters, Frenchie finds a bomb. He only has enough time to tell the female he loves her before it blows, and they are both killed. So there you have it, folks. Kimiko in the TV show versus the female in the comics, each with their own unique traits and stories. Which version do you find more compelling? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into your favorite characters from The Boys. Until next time, stay super.